Shout out to everybody here on The Price Report every single Wednesday night. We have promised to bring you an amazing personality who has dedicated their life to cryptocurrency, who I call a crypto lifer. I'm a crypto lifer, you are crypto lifers, and we're going to bring in a favorite person of mine. I actually met him on Around the Blockchain, had great energy, loved his answers. I felt like we were kindred spirits from another play, from an old life. Let's bring on Kevin, man. Kevin, thank you so much for coming on in. Tell everyone who you are, how you're feeling today, and what's going on, man?
Man, what's happening, everybody, bro? I'm feeling great, Sam. Thank you so much for having me on the show. And guys, I don't know if y'all watched Sam's live stream and Gary Gensler getting grilled. I shouldn't have gotten that much enjoyment out of it, bro. But like, that was amazing. That was amazing, man. But I'm doing good, dog. I'm ready to talk some crypto.
Yeah. Dude, we were just there. One of the congressmen had a beautiful Southern accent, and everyone in the chat was like, we love that Southern accent. And I'm hearing it now. Where are you from, man? If you don't have to tell us, because I don't want to.
New Orleans, Louisiana.
And so, how did you get into crypto down south? I'm from Boston and New York City. You were down in the Big Easy, we call it, right? How did you get into cryptocurrency down there?
Yo, it's actually wild, man. Everybody's kind of got their own like crypto origin story. It kind of reminds me of like a Marvel character or something. But mine's pretty interesting. So, dude, I owned an ATM company, and I still do own a credit card processing company. So, if I could explain to y'all the way ATM machines actually work, if you knew how archaic and how prehistoric this technology that we're using that's running our entire financial system right now, you wouldn't even believe it, how elementary it is. So when I stumbled upon crypto through investing in stocks, it just blew my mind. And then, from reading the Bitcoin white paper, going to Bitcoin conferences, and then I'm sure you can attest to this, the community of like-minded people that crypto brings together. So obviously, guys, come on, we're all in this for the money. We all want to be well. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm trying to say is the community of like-minded people, not necessarily political parties, but freedom first people that, I don't know, maybe, Sam, don't like inflation. What it entitled, and it just seems to bring us all together. Like it brought me and you together. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. It just what you bring up a great point too, because everyone's like, oh, this guy has 1 million followers, this guy has 1,000, and honestly, I could learn so much from you, right? You're up and coming on YouTube, you're starting your thing, and you've already been an investor. Like you've ran an ATM company. Like I didn't even you just blew my mind. Like I bet if I sat with you and we had lunch, you could teach me so much about my own business, and there's probably little gems and tips and tricks that I could learn from you. And so everyone, keep your ears and eyes open all the time. Whenever I bring someone on the stream, it's for a reason. I believe even God has a reason for it. So once you got into crypto, was it Bitcoin for you? For me, like someone told me about Ethereum at 9. I started looking at CoinMarketCap. I started buying little coins like Vertcoin or something. I started trading little things. I believe, then I bought Ethereum, but I bought it at $89, and then I got into Bitcoin and stuff. But what was your first coin? And do you have a favorite coin right now that you love?
Yeah, and as always, guys, not financial advice, but I was a Bitcoin first guy. I then, start learning the utility of Ethereum and like really, blowing my mind at like what Ethereum actually is, what it represents, and like whether you love Ethereum or hate Ethereum, the applications that Ethereum allows developers to do. And then when you see the scale of the development that's being built on Ethereum, it's like this whole new ecosystem that's created, this whole new financial system. And I like the term some people use, Bitcoin's digital gold, Ethereum's digital oil, which, maybe not the perfect comparison, but yeah. So I started with those. And then, I kind of got a little degen. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. I got into some of the Terra Lunas, Solana even. But now I'd say I'm more toward leaning more toward Bitcoin Maxi. But I do hold a big bag of some Polygon Matic, some Chainlink. I know you want to talk about Chainlink today. What else do I hold? QNT, HBAR. So not too crazy of a portfolio right now. I'm sticking with some of those top 50 coin market caps.
Yeah. I'm a speculative investor. So like throughout my time, even before cryptocurrency, I would find something that was an emerging technology and take a shot on it. I didn't always win, but basically about 80% of my shots did pretty well, right? And I got into silver mining stocks early when I figured, that I was speculating that they might, break into the ground and get be able to pull more ounces out the ground, stuff like that. And so I've always been a speculator. I speculated on Bitcoin. I found it at $350. I looked at the tech. I said, how could this not beat inflation? I said, they're going to print money to zero. Like, this is oh my God, right? I was like, I can memorize a seed phrase in my mind and go around the world. I said, I could have $10 million that no one knows about. I found that absolutely like just, and that's why a lot of governments and people don't like Bitcoin, right? Because of its imaginary properties, right? There's tons of people that probably bought Bitcoin unbeknownst to a lot of people, maybe at 300, 400, 500, and no one will know to this day, you know what I mean? If they own that wallet, there's probably forensic ways to go about it, but, and I'm not telling people not, I pay my taxes, I do all the right things, because at the end of the day, they'll figure out a way to take you down, and you might as well keep your slate clean. I just want everyone to realize that. But
we're a nation of laws. At the end of the day, guys, whether you like the laws or not, we are a nation of laws. And the anonymous factor of Bitcoin, while it does appeal to us, we still have to respect that. Hey, guys, pay your taxes. But yeah, there's a lot of big wallets that hold like billions, millions of Bitcoin, and nobody knows who they are. And I don't know if there is a way that they can figure out who they are.
And see, I'm under this cool impression that I never sell like I don't sell Bitcoin, like I'll do other speculative investments, but I'm not going to sell Bitcoin. Like I acquired Bitcoin to give it to my kids. 50, 60 years from now, I believe my kids will hold that. And I believe 5 to 10 years from now, it's already starting. We'll be able to collateralize our Bitcoin. How much do you have in a wallet? Well, I got 10. Okay. Linking it up to this like DeFi software over at the bank. They're going to see what's in the wallet. It's going to get captured as value. You're going to be able to get a loan off of it, throw it into real estate. Start making money off the real estate, and then you can slowly, either pay off the, to get the Bitcoin back, right? And then release the Bitcoin back as collateral. You'll never have to sell your Bitcoin. What do you think of that?
Well, I want to expand a little bit on what you just said right there, Sam. So obviously, we see Bitcoin as the perfect collateral, right? It's an asset that can be moved instantaneously and verified by anyone. You don't have to be a CPA. But let's expand on that a little bit further. You used real estate. That's a real good starting spot. So let's say you're going to buy a house. For anybody that's bought a house recently, you have to go do the title work, right? There's a lot of paperwork that's involved in that. You guys realize all that's going to be on a blockchain. Not only all of that's going to be in a blockchain, it's probably going to put a lot of people out of business. A lot of these title companies and stuff, they're not even going to be needed anymore. So we're going into something new, this fourth industrial revolution, this digital renaissance, whatever you want to call it. And we're not just looking at, we are investing in the infrastructure for this, whether like, guys, we are at a crossroads. Freedom is under attack. We're at this crossroads. And we're going into it, and it's like crazy that we're sitting here talking about this. We're sitting here investing in it. And Sam, as good as me, they don't even want us in this stuff, man.
No. Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely doing the best job as they can to get retail out. Like Chase Bank in the UK, like they're doing everything they can to, because once the average person sees something they already have the person, full of fear, right? So once if Chase Bank doesn't like it, I shouldn't like it now, right? It's like such a way to wall somebody out. And it's so sad, right? Because we know 100 years from now, people are going to laugh at these actions and be like, wow, these were the degressors. Like, this is what was stopping us from going ahead, right?
Well, it's like you ever see the newspaper article and it says, like, the internet is just a fad. Like, nobody's going to use it. It's like that situation. And then, like what you said about the Chase Bank, I mean, I believe that's only in the UK right now, but there's clips of Glenn Beck and talking to a financial analyst about Jamie Dimon, who's, publicly talking bad about Bitcoin, but then behind the scenes buying it. We know Warren Buffett's publicly talking bad about Bitcoin, but behind the scenes buying it. So I'll let your audience kind of, figure out what they may about that. But it's clear that investing is a blood sport, guys. And if you don't believe that the financial elite will use any methods to control the most precious asset in the world, I mean, come on, guys, it's common sense.
Well, it's also supply and demand. I just, I bought my first piece of real estate. You seem like you're deeper into real estate than me. I've been dreaming about it my whole life. Like I bought 1,000 buildings in my mind. Everywhere I go, I look at the landscaping. And I don't just look at a property. I look at the cornering. I look at the bushes. I'm like, they repainted the guardrails. I see how they improved. I'm always, and I believe I have an eye for it. I think I'm going to be very successful at it. I bought my first rental property last week. I closed, to be honest.
Oh man, nice.
And the point about this though is if everyone could go, I went to that, to the closing, and there was only one other guy bidding at the time. The rich don't want 100 people bidding on the same building, right? So if they empowered us all to make more money, then when they go to close on a $5 million building, it's going to be me and Kevin are going to be there now next week. Kevin and Sam weren't there 5-10 years ago, right? We had our pick of the litter. So it's the more rich people get rich, the more competition for the rich people that are already taking hand over fist. So I hope when I do get to the billionaire status that I don't let the money blind me and start blocking the masses from opportunity because I'm so enthralled in my ability to continue to grow. You know, oh, I need it. It's like, you'd think when people get to that level, they'd start to, but they get so insecure to stay up there, right? And they just want to just keep pounding the little guy down. What jobs?
Yeah, you won't be blind. You won't be blind. And, you know, going back to real estate, guys, and, you know, I own a bunch of real estate, single family and multifamily. But,
awesome.
You know, it's a shame that, you know, the public school system, they didn't teach us this. They didn't teach us what we learned. But I'm never going to use that as an excuse because, guys, you know, the resources are out there. And, you know, people laugh at YouTubers and stuff. Let me tell you what, dude, you go on YouTube right now, you could find just about anything you need to learn about investing in real estate. But if I could give a word of caution to your audience, you know, as a real estate investor, guys, super concerned right now because if you guys are seeing what's happening with the insurance rates, so, you know, when you get a fixed rate mortgage, right? So, you know, Sam, I'm sure you're a numbers guy. You did your numbers on your rental property. I'm sure it probably cash flowed positive, or at least you got some type of appreciation.
We bought a cash. Sam, cash. I want
Sam,
cash,
what happens? So, you know, your note, your 30-year mortgage, what happens if your insurance goes up? And there's no clause by the government or by insurance companies that they can just arbitrarily just keep raising your insurance rates. That's what's happening in Florida right now. That's what's happening in Louisiana right now. But for anybody listening to this, we're going to have 10% interest rates real soon. And that was kind of a conspiracy theory not too long ago. But if you're prepared and you're stacking cash right now, that's what it seems. Guys, look, I don't try to outthink this stuff. I try to just do what the smart people are doing. And the smart people, the Robert Kiyosakis, these type, they're hoarding cash, gold, silver, and saving cash for the eventual crash.
Interesting. I have one like devil's advocate for you. All right. To have a crash, we need delinquency. Delinquency is actually going up. More people are paying their mortgage off than ever now. So we went from like 452,000 delinquent, like down to 400,000. I don't catch me on the exact numbers. For us to have a massive crash, we need massive delinquency. Right now, we don't have that, which is interesting, right? It's a bit weird. Like why? Like, you know, but so that's the only thing holding us slightly. And the next thing, 1980, 84, I was born in 83, the interest rate was 14%, right? It's been there before. People don't think so we could get to 14, you know? I got hit with 9. That's why I paid cash. The deal didn't work out. I only wanted to put 175, split it with a buddy, go in for 350, buy the $750,000 building, let them pay most of it, and just cash flow $5 to $1,000. But you know what? It may end up paying out in the long run. I'll buy this. I'll hold it 15 years. The crash will come and go. My daughter will continue to collect a cash flow. It will bring in $3,600 a month every single month for the rest of the time I own that thing, right? And then we'll be able to take appreciation because I have a good accountant and different sorts of things. And I wanted to hold some physical real estate for tax purposes too. I wanted to do certain things. Again, get a CPA and do your right thing. So at the same time, I'm young. It could have been. I don't know if it was the best buy or not. I don't know.
Let me clarify, Sam. Yeah. So I 100% am pro real estate. I'm pro. I hold a lot of different assets, and I do think for the average person, their best chance at acquiring generational wealth is either going to probably be in real estate or crypto assets. What I do see happening though is that, through the interest rates, through insurance, that a lot of people are being priced out, that these properties are appreciating. But if you look at the 2008 real estate crash, even if you bought at the top of that, you're doing pretty good right now because all the appreciation the properties have. So yes, you're right. Long-term, guys, as long as the country exists, you can't go wrong with real estate because the financial elite, the people that run your government, they made the laws to benefit real estate. I mean, it really is the, Sam, I'm sure you know a bunch of rich people. I know a bunch of rich people. What do they own? They own stocks and they own real estate. And now they're starting to own Bitcoin and gold and all these other assets. But yeah, real estate it should probably be the foundation. If you're an investor, like you shouldn't buy Bitcoin before you have a house, right?
Yeah, agreed. Yeah. Well, I went the opposite way. I'm in a 1-bedroom apartment. I poured all my money. I looked at it and I said, listen, I have one shot to really get out of this rat race that I'm in, My parents were like, my dad was an iron worker. My mom was a school teacher. They did very well for where they're at. And they even got into a little bit of real estate. Like my parents did great. They were disciplined, hardworking people. They saved their money and they even got into, they got into Fidelity. Never crazy stocks, but they did ETFs. And my parents did amazing. But we could have done even better. Like I always was looking, we could have started businesses and expanded. And So I wanted to expand on what my parents did, and they never gave me a dime. They never did. My dad was like, "You'll get whatever." Even when my dad died in May, and I still his will is whatever. Like I always knew that I was gonna have to make it on my own, like through my own accord, And that was something between my dad too, as a man, when you can come back to your dad and be like, "I did it," and like I didn't ask you for a loan, and you didn't give me my business. It all happened on its own. But when I see what my parents went through, they were taxed, right? After 10, I look at it this, after 10 years of working, you actually worked 3 of those years for free. People don't even think it like that. 3 of the years you worked for almost completely free after the devaluation of your currency through inflation and, after the taxation upon you. So I was like, how do I get out of this? And when I saw a Bitcoin $300, it took me till it was $1,000 of, researching it. And then I was all in, and I realized I did. I went all in. I bought everything. Like I just bought Bitcoin. I got Cardano with 2
My
cents.
boy, I love it, man.
Yeah,
Keep
so
going, man.
I went super risky. Like I basically, I looked at some of the billionaires that I researched, and I said, man, they took some huge risks. Like some of them took huge risks, right? So I was like, all right. I said, the worst comes to worst, I'll blow it all, and I'll have to go back into the rat race, right? So I was like, I was more afraid of not taking the risk than sitting on the sidelines like everybody else, right? I can see that in you too, man. The second I met you, I was like, man, this guy, you probably took some risk in real estate. You probably took some risk to get where you're at. There's no way you sat and just, there was a time when the market was iffy. You talked about '08 and you're already in now. So, how did you deal with it? Were you in real estate in '08?
Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
So what I kind of went through, and again, I'm kind of, I don't want to say insulated. I just live in a really nice area, a real good area that's, really held its value, since we dealt with Hurricane Katrina down here.
Yeah.
But, essentially, guys, I like to be diversified. And, I don't, again, the all-in strategy has worked for a lot of people, guys. It just wasn't me because I just found interest in so many different things. And then once you start creating like cash flowing businesses, and guys, even if it's, a cash flowing business that's passive and making you $500 a week, $600 a week, and you're still, getting your regular income, it's an amazing way because that's your vehicle to invest in. That's your vehicle to open up all these different opportunities. But essentially, I look at real estate the same way you said that. This is a long-term game. I got a friend that bought a property and it's not looking too good for him right now. I said, dude, you're looking at this on a 2-year scale. You need to look at this on a 20-year scale. Like 20 years from now, like you're going to be so happy. That's your retirement. Screw an IRA, screw a 401k, dude. You got a cash flowing rental property in a good area. Like I don't want to ever sound like I'm going against real estate. I just like people to be cautious and to really know what they're getting into, especially when it comes to multifamily properties, because they can be a nightmare, man. Let me tell you what, they can be a nightmare.
One caveat to that, right, is real estate right now, real estate for the 70s and the 80s was the number one creator of wealth, right? But it's not anymore, right? With stocks coming out now, I believe like investment, I think has surpassed it. I could be wrong, but I believe that in the last like 10 years now, we've made more millionaires with stock market. And, I'm not saying it could, like you're saying, over 100 years, it may pan back out, right? And I'm not hating on I think real estate's like such a core nut to have in your investment portfolio. Like not having real estate's like not having your boxers on, as far as I'm concerned. You know what I mean? Like,
dude, but I want to go back to what you said about the index funds, because I see a lot of these YouTubers, like they kind of like, I don't want to say like they joke about index funds. Dude, let me tell you what, dude, I got some index funds in an IRA, and I look at the return I have, and I'm like, man, I should have just went all in on these. Because it just seems that, these Charles Schwab's, these big investment firms, that's what they figured out. They just put their clients in these big, broad market index funds, and they just take that management fee. So long term too, index funds are a great way to create, it's slow and steady, but man, like I guess I'm not as risk averse as you maybe, Sam.
Yeah.
But I like to be balanced, man. I like, it's kind of like football, man. I like to have a good running game and a good passing game. You know what I'm saying, man? I like to be balanced.
Well, what's funny is, and I think this goes for anyone that made their money investing and like kind of, in a risk adverse situation, is now that I've made it to the quote unquote promised land, like, like I'm not in debt, right? Like I am so far from debt. I'm so, I hope will never work for someone again for the rest of my life. I'm financially stable. I take way less risks. I'll be honest now, right? Like There's no need to take that. I don't need to go all in anymore. Like I look back and I'm like, wow, I took some big risks to get where I'm at. And now you're like, wow, it's kind of like you swam through the shark infested water. You're like, and you got like the fruit at the tree of that island you wanted to get to. And now I'm like, I'm just going to start planting fruit now and waiting for them to grow. Like I have patience now. I don't need to go back into the shark infested water. Like I did it already for a long time too. Like I struggled through risk to make it where I'm at. Like, and everyone that's successful fights tooth and nail to get there. People seem to think there's this like silver spoon, and it may happen to a few people that get, that basically, inherit money. But most of the multimillionaires you see, people that have grinded, they came from nothing, man. They grinded their way to the top.
Yeah, I saw a statistic that like it's a very few people that are like, handed wealth that's passed down, and it's a very small amount. Most millionaires are self-made. And if you think about it, it kind of makes sense, because if you make your money and then you're passing it on to your next generation and they aren't financially literate, like meaning that they don't have these skills, then chances are like they're going to lose it. It's an unfortunate, you see it in the NFL. You see it in the NBA, these players, they retire and they're broke, and you're kind of just scratching your head like, how?
Yeah.
How is that possible? But, I look at it like it could happen to me. It could happen to you. If you're not constantly engaged, constantly, learning, constantly investing in figuring out what's going on in the world, it could happen to anybody. But it's crazy though, man. I think one thing, Bitcoin crypto does, it really has made me expand my knowledge on not just, what money is, how money works, the future of money, what investing is. And I think crypto really was, even, I've been in stocks, but even before that, crypto is what opened those doors for me,
Now, you mentioned some of the big boys in crypto, right? One of the first coins I bought and I was speculating on, Chainlink. I think I got in late at $1.78, right? And, when it went up around that $50 level, right, I felt like that wasn't its potential. The last bull run, I didn't take any profit. And you'd look at me like I was insane. Because in my mind, Chainlink was like an 8 to 10 year hold. And they had such a core key and all the different layers of technology. Like people didn't realize how many other altcoins were actually using Chainlink's technology. Because they wouldn't like outright say it, right? It would just be like, you'd have to read a white paper or see something or kind of get into maybe the Discord. What's your take on Chainlink? Are you a big holder? Are you DCAing in? Is that something that you like? Today they got in with Base on Coinbase. That's a pretty big deal, right? To see that connection there. Probably going to be a forefront runner, I believe. And do you have any price predictions for Chainlink?
No, I'm done with price predictions. Look, guys, if you ever watch my channel, you're not coming to me for TA and you're not coming to me for price predictions. So, but as far as Chainlink as a project, I am very bullish on. I am personally invested in it. Look, guys, I would tell you, look, you don't need to be some TA mastermind or crypto mastermind to get this stuff. Just go Google Chainlink's corporate partnerships and just try to understand that they are bridging the entire Web 2 world onto Web 3. So when you really see what this project is attempting to accomplish, and then you brought up the Coinbase thing, and guys, when I first invested in Coinbase, I thought of it more as just a brokerage. Now you're seeing they're coming out with layer 2s, and it's, guys, again, we are so fortunate to be like, we're going to look back on stuff like this and be like, dude, I can't believe we got in Chainlink at these early levels. I mean, it's absolutely incredible.
Gary must love Base. I wonder what he thinks about the Howey test with that one.
So the Howey test. So this is what gets me. And correct me if I'm wrong. I believe when they originally made that, I was like, what is this Howey test they're always talking
1932,
about? 1932,
right? Or something like it was like.
Yeah, it was made to settle some kind of dispute with oranges on a farm or something. And I'm like, what are they doing? But I don't know, man. This SEC, Gary Gensler, he's got to go, dude. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah, it's like after today, it was crazy. I saw Democrats and Republicans fed up. You know what I mean? Like both sides were fed up. Like there was people who they looked outright angry with him. You know what I mean? Like they're being curtailed, right? Like their hands are tied. They're being hogtied. Like I got voted in. They sent me into Washington. I sit here for hours a day, right? I delegate. And then when I ask to speak, and then when I make, they send letters to him, he doesn't respond to them, right? They always feel like I'm going to follow up. Yeah, well, I followed up 7 times. And, you never followed up. He said, the guy said, this is like Hotel California where you could check in with the SEC, but you can never check out.
What he said about, he asked his Bitcoin a security. He's like, well, it's not a security. Well, is it a commodity? And it was almost like, you remember in the Matrix when Neo's mouth like gets like closed shut, like he just would not like respond. And I'm just like, this is a clown show.
It was so crazy. Oh man. I feel like I got to know a little bit about you, man. You really opened up. And we're gonna have to have you back on. I have another show too, a channel that I'm starting, Sam Price channel, which I'm gonna expand into real estate, and I'm gonna start bringing in real estate people, and I'm gonna see how we can connect them all. But man, you're someone I'm gonna be staying in touch with and watching. Whenever I have a deal, I'm gonna run it by you if you don't mind, and see what your thoughts on. I'm hoping I can get some mentorship out of you, man. You seem like someone who knows what they're doing, and you're so low key about it.
I make a lot of mistakes now, Sam. I don't shoot 10 for 10 now.
I got good instincts, and I know who's who, though. I'm telling you, man. You got a twinkle in your eye. I see something in there.
But dude, it's funny to me though, like the whole notion of the UK with Chase Bank and crypto, this SEC, it's all about protecting retail, all about protect. Man, if you really wanted to protect retail, you would get rid of these sports gambling apps. You would get rid of this, and it's like this whole protection, like, hey, it's our money. Money is property. So we have property rights. If I want to go spend my money and lose my money on a crypto exchange, that's my right. You know what I'm saying? So like it's a fraud, but yeah, Sam, dude, we could talk real, whatever you want to talk about, my dude, anytime.
Well, it's like betting on the Bengals is not a security, right? I'm just saying, like, your point is right. But if I bet on XRP, XRP has broken the law now. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're right. But I can press that deposit button into all these betting, better.com and all this stuff. My dad would bet on the Super Bowl and he would go down to this phone in the basement and he'd make a phone call. And that's when I knew he was calling the bookie, right? I was like, oh man. And as a kid, he looked me in the face and he said, never gamble. He said, it's a sucker's game. He told me at 10 years old, he basically told me gamblers are suckers. And so by the time I was 14, like anyone that went to gamble, I was like, oh, you a sucker, huh? Like that's literally what I was rude about it. And I've gone to Vegas a few times and I love craps. Last time I made $1,000 out of $100 playing craps. But I've probably gambled craps like 10 times in the last 10 years. Let's be honest, And
I've lost a ton of money gambling, man. Straight up, like my 20s, it was not pretty. But again, you guys, hey, it's your money, and unfortunately for some people, dude, that's the lesson they're gonna have to learn. Like, they're gonna have to go through that, and it does sting when your dad tells you or your mom tells you not to do something. And you do it anyway, and then like that voice is on repeat in your head. Yeah, dude. So I know what you're feeling, bro. I feel it.
Yeah. But yeah, so any last things people can tell you? Where can they find you? When do you stream? If you stream, when do you make content? Are you on other platforms besides Twitter and YouTube? And just let everyone know where they can find you. Kevin, take it away, man.
Bro, I'm just on Twitter and YouTube right now, y'all. You can just search Kevin Estopinal or Classic Kev on YouTube, guys. I do a mixed bag of content, but I do think I want to have my boy Sam on because I think it's time for me to start learning some TA. Because TA, I think, leverage trading. I need to learn. That's my biggest weaknesses right now. Because I want to know how to leverage trade. And I know we're just talking about gambling and I'm bringing up leverage trading, but I want to learn how to leverage trade in the bull market. But
now, I don't like guys. I usually don't show my products on these interviews, but I recently brought someone into my group who was centered on leverage. I didn't trade leverage. I made my money investing and then I'm a swing trader. Like I'll put 10 grand in for 4 or 5 days at a time. I like big positions for 4 to 2 weeks. That's my forte. But I made $500 on $5,000 leverage. Well, I took 200. I was up 500 this morning. I threw $5,000 in at 5x leverage, put a $27,000 trade in last night. I woke up 500. I brought my stop loss and I took like 220 out of the trade. But he can teach you things like I'm up on a trade right now at 2,800%. He shows me how to use you start the trade with a buck. It's insane. 200x leverage, and we'll get into it later. But he will teach you, man. It's $150 every Sunday, 12 p.m. I'm telling you right now, if you want to learn leverage, my group is the place to do it. Like, I basically have a great group of people and like what I'm seeing and, all the testimonials. So I'm telling you right now, man, I really think it would be a place you would love. And
let's do it.
Yeah.
Why not?
But thank you so much for coming on the show. I really, really appreciate your time. I really can't wait till the next time I see you. I don't know if you go to the events or if you go out to any of the conferences, but
I will be at some events this year for sure, man. But keep in touch. Let me know which ones you go to, bro. I'd love to link up for real.
Well, God bless you, Kevin. Thank you so much for being here, and everyone. Classic Kev, baby. Appreciate your time, man.
See y'all later.
God bless you.